Started. Seen that.
Georgia. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, call the meeting to order. Join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business, we need to go into executive session for employee review. I would move to go into executive session to consider appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, compensation of public employee or official, or investigation of charges or complaints against public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual unless the employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing by division of G1, section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a second?
Second, and also invite into the session Jason Andrews.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Jackson,
Aye.
Holiday,
Aye.
Trainer.
Hi.
Okay, we will now to the other office. Executive.
Sorry, yeah.
Have a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Jackson,
Aye.
Holiday,
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, motion carried. We're back in session. Somebody like to make the motion in regard to Jason's pay?
I can make the motion. Move to approve pay increase for Jason Andrews to $34.67 per hour, $27.73.60 per pay period, 72.113.60 per year. This also includes a job title change to maintenance supervisor effective September 22nd, 2024.
Okay, have a second.
Second.
Okay, another roll call vote, please.
Jackson,
Aye.
Holiday,
Hi.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, at this time, we have a motion to adjourn this meeting, and we'll reconvene the other one at 7.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Special meeting is adjourned. We'll start the regular meeting here in a couple of minutes.
Street somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. If you haven't signed in back here on the left-hand corner of the room, please do so. Join me in the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One
nation
under
under God,
God,
indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome. We've got a long agenda again tonight, so we've got 4 speakers want to give presentations. We have 2 zoning hearings, one at 7:15, one at 7:30. And a hearing to set for next month. I think we better get into any of the speakers right now. Lisa, do you want to do some of your financials or whatnot?
Sure. You've got the August bank reconcile sitting up there to sign. Appropriation ledger status reports have been emailed, cash summary, and all three have been put on the website. The approval of the trustee minutes from August the 21st, the correction of Lewis Middleton's name.
Have a motion to approve the minutes for August 21st.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved.
Okay, warrants and vouchers are up there, starting with warrant number 13605 through warrant number 13631. Voucher number 136-2024 through voucher 148, 2024. Total amount $119,068.80.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried, approved.
Accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call vote, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Trainer.
Aye.
Motion carried, approved.
Approval of the 2025 pay schedule, which I had emailed to you.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Approve that OTA education classes. It'll cost $25 for all members for free training. Aye.
250.
Huh?
250.
250, sorry.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
You want to do the OPWC?
Yeah, we can do some of that. What we're intending to do for the OPWC next round for grants request. Gonna put Green Cook in from Woodtown to Trenton Road, 1.39 miles, 2-inch asphalt overlay. Estimated cost is $329,600. The breakdown is Harlem would be $21,424. Delaware County, $64,272. And OPWC would be $243,904. So we have a motion here to approve authorizing legislation that would authorize me to prepare and submit application to participate in the High Public Works program, and whereas trustees are planning to make capital improvements to Green Cook Road. And it would authorize me to be the signer for OPWC and to enter in agreements to obtain financial assistance. Do I have a second on that?
I will second.
Yeah.
Who moved it?
I did.
Okay.
Roll call vote, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Okay.
Approve the transfer of 160 hours of sick leave for Lewis Middleton to Genoa Township. Retroactive to his resignation date of August the 14th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Then I'll do the purchase orders after you guys approve the expenditures,
Okay,
that section, so.
all right.
Talk about settlement, Dave.
Yeah, well, I've got a motion here to, that I'd like to make that we send a letter to Delaware County engineers not to post any roads for 24-25 winter season. For a second,
Second.
all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Now, they'd like to, approve the terms and settlement of our open meetings, lawsuit litigation. The settlement was printed in the agenda, will be printed in the minutes, and which will be approved October meeting. It's generally the agreement is an injunction that the township will not violate the Open Meetings Act. A merger will not appear on the ballot, which it could now anyway, because it's past filing date. Would pay Mr. Turner's attorney $8,500 and $500 to Mr. Turner. Any other discussion? Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call vote, please.
Jackson,
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Trainer.
Okay. We have a separate motion just to make sure. Approval to agree to the injunction entry for Turner versus Harlem Township. I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those, another roll call vote, please.
Jackson,
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Trainer.
Aye.
Motion carried. Now, we'll do the approval to sign the agreement for Green Cook Road improvement. This is a cooperative project agreement between Harlem Township and Delaware County, naming me, David Jackson, to vote on behalf of the Harlem Township trustees. Be a cooperative project agreement between us and the county for this project. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Jackson,
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Trainer.
Aye.
Dave, that's just in addition to the previous
Yeah, it's
motion. It's not
yeah.
redundant.
correct. I was thinking there was one more, but we have the Sims cemetery for discussion.
I have an update.
Okay, well, yeah, go ahead.
So be quick. I did call Sims about their burial search application, and they basically host a website with access to your cemetery information. And then you're able to post a link from your website to that website. They do audit their website consistently for security breaches. In fact, we had just received an email on August 30th where they said, we want you to know that Sims has implemented a process to hire an external third party to perform a security audit of the entire Sims system. They completed one in 23 and they have one actually occurring right now. What you are paying for when you pay for this setup and then its continued servicing is they use Amazon and Amazon services to host their information, their data. And then that data is spread literally across the globe. So that if anything was ever lost, it's stored in partitions that they can put that back together piece by piece. Interestingly, he did say the only breach they've ever had is when a gruntled employee from a township went in to Sims and deleted everything. He said, however, their backup is to within the last 12 hours. And so they're able to capture just about everything that one may have lost. And so they have nightly backups, they have a distributed file system, incredible redundancy, and they are constantly testing for penetration of their system. And they've never had a customer complain about a breach in data or exposure. And they don't collect what we would call PII or personally identifiable information. It's run-of-the-mill kind of information.
Ashley, did you have time to contact them?
I did, and you did more on like the software side of things. I
Yes.
did more on the day-to-day functioning side of things,
Right.
because that's what I would be doing. So I did call, and my biggest concern was, do I have to update in, because they're two different situations. So For the public access, it's under burialsearch.com. So it is an affiliate of Sims, so it is their software, but just a public version essentially. So we have the private version of Sims Cloud to operate our cemeteries. So my concern was, am I gonna have to go into both systems and update everything? They are connected, so anything I put on our side, it will transfer over to their side. Something that I did like about it is that we can edit what they can and cannot see. If we only want them to see the name, the death date, birth date, and burial date, that's all they can see. Like on our side, you can see if it's an urn, you can see if it's a full burial, personal contact information, things like that. We can hide all that if we want. So it can just look like essentially an overview of the cemetery just with stones and names. So we can fully go through and they will do, I think he said like an hour and a half of setup. So they will set it up for us. We can say, this is what we want. We don't like how this looks. We do like how this looks. And they'll set it up for us. So it's the same system, just essentially hiding the things that are. more
Okay,
personal
that's what I was
private.
concerned about, if it was gonna be double entry or something like that.
Everything's connected and we can hide. Cause a lot of people aren't gonna want their personal information, like we have phone numbers of first, next of kin. Who gets those plots if the people that pass don't use them or something like that, and I just don't think. In my opinion, the public should have access to that kind of information, so we truly. Edit what they see and what they can access, and it's read only, they can't edit anything.
It's gonna be a reoccurring annually $800 charge.
Correct.
Okay,
Hosting site.
So essentially what we're achieving here is just public search access
Yeah.
to folks in Harlem Township
Yeah.
cemeteries. I think that's a great resource. My concern, I just feel like the cost is a bit high
Yeah.
for essentially just cloud
yeah,
storage hosting. You know what I mean? It's like, they're gonna charge, not only is the $800 yearly, it's $1,500 initial setup fee, but as Ashley just said, I mean, we're already set up in Sims Cloud, so I mean, I wonder how much setup there needs to be of a data set that already exists.
Mhm.
And so, I guess, because I think it's an important thing, I wonder if we could maybe benchmark and say, after a certain period of time, can they provide us with what the public utilization might be of this? Because if we're paying $1,500 and then $800 a year, and in a year's time frame, one person a month looks at it. I just don't know if that's a worthy cost. for
I
the
think that's
township.
very fair.
yeah, that's a fair question.
So can you give us data, feedback on how this thing's been used?
That would be the
Absolutely.
question,
Right.
yeah,
Right,
which they should be able to track.
so we're gonna wait for more information or what?
Well, I think that's not something that we would know up front, right? I mean,
No,
they could give us that information possibly, anonymously of other municipalities that use the system.
yeah,
Or they would tell us, what their nationwide search rate is, but I would want to know, how many folks in a 6 month or in a 12 month time frame have utilized it for Harlem Township. But, given the historical nature of a lot of our cemeteries, I think it is a worthy tool to pursue, and then we can determine if it's money well spent. after we
Reevaluate it in a year?
Reevaluate it in a
Okay.
year, we can
Yeah.
determine what.
fair enough.
So I would move to approve the purchase of public access to Sims Barrel Search at an initial cost of $1,500 for setup and then an $800 annual fee.
Okay, we have a second.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Okay, it's 7:15. I got started. I failed to welcome Commissioner Gary Merrill here tonight. Okay, we've got a hearing start at 7:30, so we'll recess the business portion. This hearing is 24-0918T001. And it's the zoning application that was presented by the Harlem Township Zoning Commission, HTZC 24-05 amendment to the zoning articles 6, 7, 15. This amendment package was recommended approval to the trustees. They made their decision August 5th. The hearing was advertised in the Delaware Gazette September 4th. is also on our website, calendar, both Facebook pages, community sign, and legal ad to back door. Will be held to a 30-day referendum period. So there's that. Basically, commission made some minor changes to the code in those sections. Basically verbiage they cleaned up. They worked with regional planning to accomplish this. Scott Sanders overseeing the process. They developed a new definition for residential facility. 2118 is referenced, but it's not in section 2118, so it's 21. Some wording was deleted in the possibly the wording of some of these articles, and they changed it from lumens to light bulbs, an example. Some of the verbiage they changed. Some of the duplication was taken out. So forth. Any comments? Any discussion? You had a chance to look at the red line pages? You're okay with it? What's the pleasure of the board then?
I make a motion to approve zoning application 24-0918T-001. An application that is an amendment to zoning articles 4, 7, 8, and 15.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Jackson,
Aye.
Holiday,
Aye.
Trainer.
Aye.
Okay, that's approved. It'll be 7:30 before we can do the other, so we'll jump back into some regular business again here. Reconvene the meeting. Okay, let's handle the approval or purchase of cemetery plot back from the owner.
Yeah, so I would move the approval of purchasing back a cemetery plot from Maple Grove Cemetery. There were 2 spaces from Mr. Frank Cooper that were purchased in the early 1900s for about $12. The current going rate for a plot in Harlem Township for residents is $600. And so I thought that it seemed equitable to give him $300 per space. And he agreed to that resolution. Hence, this motion that is before us.
Okay,
Second.
right. Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next.
Then there is a lady who would like to exchange a plot that she has in Maple Grove Cemetery for a new plot in Hunt Cemetery. Her name is Cheryl Jo Blaine, a wonderful lady. She's an Army vet and has long roots in the township. And so that's a very reasonable request. And so I move to approve that exchange of cemetery plots.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Jason? Wanna dive into your stuff?
Thank you. I'm Jason with the Maintenance Department, and for the last month, I've got, let me just cover it up. As far as accomplishments we've been having in the maintenance staff. For the cemeteries, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the trees were taken down off the hillside along the Fancher Road north side to accommodate the new fence that has been put in. It's still got a couple small tweaks here and there to finish, but it's majority of it's facing in. We had the new 50-foot fence installed at the east side of Maple Grove to block that access drive from the property to the east there. 2 full barrels, 2 urn barrels in the last month. We completed some minor trimming inside the cemetery itself, just to kind of keep it clean. The grass has stopped growing, so that is a plus. A lot of it's brown. As far as the roadways are going, we're continuing to berm along Robbins Road and Green Cook for our main attention as time allows. We're looking into assessing 2 culverts along the Green Cook Road between the Woodtown and Trenton area to see if we can get ahead of the grant money that we might get approved for next year for the paving, plus a couple other culverts. As far as the park's been going, we're looking into getting the cracks sealed on the walking path and maybe sealing it, which I'm probably thinking more of if it works out, seal the path this fall, maybe seal it next spring, summer, depending on cost and time. And we actually have a crack sealing machine over there that we might be able to do ourselves. I'm thinking we got product over there, but I know that machine has not ran in 3 years. So that's something I want to kind of dive into to see if that's something we could do in house, and we wouldn't necessarily have to farm it out, keep the funds inside and see what other things shake up. Park committee brought to me the concession stand / shelters, got quite a bit of bird damage, rodent damage, squirrel damage, just rotten, lack of maintenance. Looking in to see what it would take to maybe spruce that up, whether we slap some new boards on it, maybe give it a coat of paint, or if we want to look into just resurfacing the whole building for longevity, depending on what the committee actually wants to progress with. Talks of the last 2 years I hear of maybe replacing it, maybe updating the shelter. That long-term talk that will probably not even begin to work until next year. I'm also looking into the lighting concerns for the light that's in the parking lot that doesn't work. There's a light by the concrete plant that's not working. I'm gonna look into, and then mow and trim as needed, which, as you're aware, has slowed down quite a bit. The Grange Hall has had new soap dispensers installed. We double backed on getting paper towels and toilet paper over there for the restrooms to be stocked up. I did find out the paper towel holders we had put in are I forget the brand name. I forgot to write it down, but they're dispenser specific. You have to it's Georgia specific. Their paper is ridiculous because that's how they made it. But I found out through Keywall Paul, they can provide a product that is actually of better quality at a much cheaper price that will work. So I went ahead and went with them to get the paper towels and stuff for over there, which we'll be keeping an eye on and keep going. And I did want to bring to light that I would like to look into maybe a more frequent cleaning service for the Grange, maybe after every use, to make sure the quality and upkeep is being held to the high standard that I think our citizens deserve based on follow-ups with how often it's rented. And if we have frequent rentals, maybe do one after 2, but if they're months apart, maybe do one after each one, depending on the level of service we think we need. Whether we get, a commercial company, somebody local, something like that, things to speak of. And then we've also already began our conversations on prepping for the winter weather that we all love to enjoy in January and February, and what we need for the trucks and plows and whatnot. And I've already reached out to Dexter and got some new cutting blades coming for our big blades we have done over there. So Bill and I have already started that conversation on prepping for snow and ice that nobody wants to hear when it's 90 degrees out. So we've been busy. We'll continue to approach what's needed as it comes. Anybody feel free, residents and all, reach out. If you see something, you want something, you feel for something, let me know and we'll address it as needed and bring attention to it if we can.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of him?
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks.
It-
Yes, Bob.
Just want to make a compliment, the Civic Association had their picnic at the Shelter House Sunday night, and a couple of comments were made.
Very welcome. What we're here to do.
Yeah, we got a couple of minutes here. We can spend some money for him.
Hmm.
approve the truck motion.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the purchase of a F5. Is it a 550 or 555?
It's a 550.
That's what I thought. So, purchase of a Ford F-550 from Riker Ford, cost of $103,035, which includes title fees using funds from American Rescue Funds.
All right, we have a second.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
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 Motion carried. Carport,
I also make a motion to approve the purchase of a carport from Gold Tier at a cost of $19,354.40 using funds from the American Rescue Fund.
Second.
okay. Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And make a motion to approve contracting Buckeye Paving Company for repairs on Robbins Road between State Route 605 and Miller Paul Road at a cost of $1,250.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, we got a couple minutes. Let me take that time to regroup here.
You guys want to sign this resolution?
Can real quick.
I get Doug his paperwork. It is one resolution, that's for the tax. And here's one. You've got to sign that.
Another one. That be,
Oh, put the date on that. Date.
oh, sorry. Let's see, what is it?
18. Thank you.
All right. Call the hearing for the Second Amendment. It's 24-918-002. It's amendment to Articles 21. And basically, it's pretty simple. They in 2118, temporary storage incidental to construction, the only change was removing the as he or she deems necessary, leaving the rest of the sentence as written. And then the inspector may require provisions of sanitary waste disposal, water supply as deemed necessary. Pretty much it. So, any discussion?
No.
I can make a motion to approve resolution 24-0918 Tango-002. Approval of zoning application HTZ C 24-06. Amendment of zoning articles 21, section 21.18.
Second.
Second. Roll call vote, please.
Jackson,
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Hi,
While we're in this neck of the woods here. Set a hearing for the next package, the HTZ 24-07. Which is the rezone, it doesn't tell who it is. That's a property rezone. Commission made recommendation September 3rd. We would set our hearing for October 16th. 7:30 to what, 7:30 or 7:15?
I'd say bump it up 7:15.
Okay, we'll change that to 7:15, Ashley.
Okay.
For second to that,
Second.
all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, now. We have our speakers. Dave, you here? You want to go for it?
Good evening. I'm Dave Snyder. I'm Harlem Township Representative to America 250 celebration. Presentation's a little longer than I have been going, but I'll be done within 5 minutes on the clock. I'm going to focus here today on American Revolutionary War Veterans Recognition Project. The American Revolutionary War Veterans Recognition Project is a part of the America 250 celebration. The project recognizes significant transformational changes brought about by the American Revolution. It is difficult for people, and especially school-age children, to grasp the span of time and to connect abstract concepts with real people. We have identified 12 graves of Revolutionary War veterans in Harlem Township. Their graves provide a tangible connection of our history to real people. Inviting people to come to our cemeteries provides a critically important opportunity to grapple with this tangible connection and to help us share and teach the importance of respect. I'm going to pause on this line of thought for just a second. I want to approach this from a slightly different perspective here. I think there are some valid concerns that need to be addressed. Cemeteries are too often damaged by natural forces and too often damaged by vandalism and desecration. The damage is real and it costs us time and money. I find it helpful to approach situations where there are risks through the use of risk management practice coupled with cost-benefit analysis. With risk management, we seek to reduce the likelihood of bad outcomes and increase the likelihood of good outcomes. In each year, there's probability that there will be a bad outcome in one or more of our cemeteries. But there's also the probability that there will be good outcomes. Harlem Township has the good fortune to have friends and neighbors who help in caring for our cemeteries. In particular, the Groscos family has for many years donated their time, invested their money to place American flags at the graves of veterans. This project will add to actions that are yielding good outcomes in connecting with people throughout the Harlem Township community, especially school-age children. We will show by example the importance of cemeteries and the importance of conducting ourselves respectfully in cemeteries. There are other good outcomes that become more likely as we connect cemeteries with community. I cannot promise that there will not be a small increase in vandalism or other bad outcomes during the next 30 months as a result of sending out community-wide invitations for people to come to our cemeteries. My analysis leads me to the conclusion that the good outcomes will increase many times over, and this will dwarf the probability of a no more than small increase in bad outcomes. Back to my original line of thought here. The project involves selection of a slate of 6 to 8 days during the next 30 months on which people will be invited to visit the graves of Revolutionary War veterans in Harlem Township cemeteries. The selection of dates will be made in conjunction with the selection of dates in other Delaware County townships, municipalities, and other political subdivisions. These dates will be included with and added to public access calendars. On these open house dates, we will have volunteers ready to welcome visitors during the posted hours. On some of these dates, we will also have reenactors to provide dramatic presentations to help visitors gain a rich and memorable understanding of the veterans as real people. The more students, and in fact, all people, connect with the lives of veterans who are buried in Harlem Township, the better they are able to understand the complex and abstract concepts that are enshrined in our Constitution. We will post yard signs at the selected cemeteries to guide people, to welcome them, to show them where to park, to provide information on where to find the graves of veterans, to give information about this program. And most importantly, we will be providing through the full range of information channels the rules for our guests on acceptable and appropriate behavior when they come to our house. Perhaps even more important, we will provide boundaries for their conduct. We will provide guides so that people know where those boundaries are and what the consequences are if they choose to ignore. Our guests are welcome, and we want to make sure that that is the primary message with the yard signs and the information that we post. We want their visits to be rewarding, enriching. Budget. At this time, with a very broad outline of this project, a rough estimate, I'm looking at $4,000, including honorariums for reenactors, production of handouts and signs. I'm thinking we're going to need in the neighborhood of 24 to 30 yard signs with various information. And in addition, some additional signage to be posted at the cemeteries, just to convey again that we welcome you. Here are ways that this visit can really enrich your lives. So, are there any questions?
Questions?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely support what you're doing, Dave. And I think it's very significant. I remember when my parents took me to see the bicentennial train in 1976 that came to Columbus, Ohio. Distinct memory in my mind walking through that train. And I think to remember these things is exceedingly important, and to connect to our roots, that we drive past these cemeteries, and to think that there are Revolutionary War veterans buried there is remarkable, and to be celebrated. So thank you for the work that you're doing, and for this effort. Supported.
Thank you.
One comment, I don't know, you said about doing the reenactments, and having people in actual costumes and things like that. I don't know if you have a connection, but I know Valerie,
Hamill, yes.
she does reenacting.
Yes.
Okay, so I
We
didn't
have
know if
talked.
you knew that, or had contact with her, but I know that she does that time period.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Can we get together soon? Cause I've got some ideas about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Betsy Goldstein here?
I know she's not here this evening.
Not here yet?
She couldn't make it.
Oh, okay. Polly?
Good evening, everyone. I just have a few updates for you tonight. First of all, we met with the zoning commission to review the overlay district along Trenton Road, extending down 605. Some of the feedback that we received from the zoning commission was to shorten that district up, tighten it up to just be along Trenton Road at this time. I think that aligns with the conversation that we all had at the last meeting regarding the TIF and, reducing that area down. So this would align with those comments. So we are going back and adjusting this overlay district to address the zoning commission's comments. We are doing this zoning district overlay in response to the annexations that are happening in Trenton Township from Sunbury into Sunbury, I should say. They are almost reaching the Harlem Township line. So the thought process was to get an overlay district in the northwest area to help respond to the growth that's happening in that area and to complement that growth in the township. So we're taking a look at that, adjusting it, and we'll be back in front of the zoning commission in October with that shortened up version of that overlay. Also want to mention that I met with trustee Trainer, had a great conversation with him. So I'm happy to meet with anyone at any time and talk about progress and different ideas going forward. So just wanted to mention that. And I also met with Dana McDaniels just to understand, the county's perspective, economic development perspective, and just everything moving forward on their end. So just continue to have conversations with those individuals and working with Jim and Mike on the different tools that they're working on. And I know that they have other updates on those, so I'm not going to go into that information. I'll let them get into those tools. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I have one. There's some pretty large tracks along Trenton Road. You're not gonna split tracks, are you?
No, the only thing that we're going to do is it's going to be a mixed use district. So instead of allowing commercial all the way back on some of the deep parts of those large tracks, making sure it's tightened up so that it's just along the frontage of Trenton Road and the back part being residential.
Okay.
But it would not, the actual zoning district itself would not split tracks.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else?
I know that you've begun to have conversations with neighboring communities about JEDs, et cetera. And I wonder if you could just quickly summarize or characterize those conversations and kind of your takeaways.
Sure. So in Trenton Township, we have already put a TIF in place in Trenton Township wide, continuing the conversations on JEDs and NCAs in Trenton Township. And then I know it's not Delaware County, but it is adjacent to you in Licking County, or at least catty corner to you, Jersey Township. We're finishing up a CETA there and a JED. They're in their 30-day comment period with New Albany right now on both of those documents. So that is moving forward pretty quickly, and we'll be implementing those in the near future. And then I'm working on some JEDs outside of this area, like in Dublin area, but.
As you reach out and have conversations with other communities as representing Harlem Township, how would you characterize those conversations, receptivity, et cetera?
So a couple of the places I've talked to have been extremely interested from a staff level. I have not heard back from them when talking to their mayors, et cetera. So I need to follow up with them on that portion of it. But from a staff economic development perspective, they've been supportive.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, you had some items?
Yes. Hey, Chief. Would you do me a favor? Would you be so kind as to distribute this? Yeah. I'm
in the front row.
I'm buying coffee next time.
No, thank you.
I gotta find where. Where I talk about strategic planning and all that. Here it is. All right. So this document represents a proposal that I'm asking for the township to begin consideration of. 2 or 3 months ago, I made a public presentation about strategic planning. And talked about kind of the history of the township and the road that we've been on, and posited that perhaps we were still missing what I would call an aspirational document that captures the vision of the township for a 10, 25, or even 50-year perspective on our history. And we had the opportunity to discuss the relationship of the comprehensive plan and the strategic quick strategy guide that is an appendix in that plan, and its relationship to what an overall strategic plan might be, and recognize that there were elements in a strategic plan that weren't included in both of those documents, but careful to note that both of those documents are foundational to and really help us get a long way down the road toward crafting a strategic plan. We recognize that part of that strategic plan, the elements of which I've kind of listed here, are things like that strategic priorities, or what is the character, defining that character of the community, what we aspire to be. It includes policy that helps us to implement with parity our economic development plan and our zoning plan, as well as other aspects of that plan. So policy that guides us and keeps us within guardrails as that plan is executed. It includes the economic development plan, which is aspirational, and that is a vision for the kind of commercial development that we'd like to see in Harlem Township, that which we would love to attract, as well as the use of economic development tools in that process, and then how those flesh out very particularly in the course of the township's life. And of course, it's not a surprise then that I initially opposed a TIF as it came to us, because I felt that TIF proposal was actually premature, that should probably come as we crafted this strategic plan and its economic development plan. It gets settled in there very well. And then we're able to understand how that's executed in light of the whole. And since then, we've been able to, I think, come to a reasonable compromise about a smaller TIF area that hits areas that we would deem to be at risk or of concern. And so my proposal is that for the next month or so, that we consider what it would be like to have a 6 to 12 month strategic planning process that results in this kind of strategic plan. I'm not the expert. I don't know what all those chapters in that strategic plan are. There are experts out there that do know and that can help us craft that. So I believe that this process should be facilitated by external subject matter experts. And I think this is very important for us, that we not remain insular, but that we allow voices from the outside to speak into our reality, voices that perhaps may have greater experience than we have, or have insight or training that we may not possess within our own walls. It's interesting, I went back and looked at the comprehensive plan, and Appendix D is this incredible list that the Zoning Commission put together of relationships that we should be building with any number of entities. That's way bigger than the few that I've listed here. And I look at that list and I think it's a challenge to us. I believe that's a good list. And I think that we should be developing all of those relationships. And that we're not mature in our thinking process unless we have. And so I challenge us to engage a broader community. And so I'm proposing some courses of action. I've talked to the fiscal officer. I don't think this will incur a great cost to us in FY24. I think it's reasonable to include in our budget in FY25. The next paragraph is important. I believe this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to plan the long-term future of Harlem Township. The plan's building on work already accomplished, but it will cast a greater vision for what the residents desire and the character, quality, and culture of the community of the upcoming decades. And when you look at planning efforts that are now being made external to us, for example, a resident shared with me today the water plan, how water is going to be impactful between now and 2050 in this region. It's a 13-county region, and estimates about the population in Harlem Township in 2050. And those estimates reflect Harlem Township that has grown 8 to 10 times in size. So we've moved from 5,000 people to 40 to 50,000 people. That's a remarkable growth. And while we tend to be very focused on what's near as we're planning, this is a challenge for us to plan on what's far and to help that next generation by laying a good foundation for them. I had an opportunity to visit my daughter who lives in Carmel, Indiana, and there's a community right next door called West Clay that 25 years ago was cornfields, that today is an incredibly planned and developed community. I'd encourage you to go on the web and look up West Clay, Indiana, and take a look at their comprehensive plan, take a look at what they've created out of cornfields in 25 years. And in some ways, we're looking at 25 years. Where will we be in 2050? And it's going to look very different than what it does currently. And we need to plan accordingly. And so I'm offering 3 COAs. Probably there will be an amalgamation of these COAs as we have this discussion. But ultimately, the bottom line is whether we go with COA 1 and have all these outside entities that we bring in, or COA 2, and I've talked to Holly about this, Crossroads comes alongside and says, hey, we can facilitate the conversation that you have. with all of these interested parties. And they kind of just refocus their efforts for a period of time. Or even COA 3 that I think we should pursue regardless, and that is bring in students from Ohio State that are majoring in their graduate studies in community development. This was recommended to me by a developer, and bring in the younger generation, so that we're listening to those voices that may think about this entirely different than we would, that have a vision for a community that's different than our vision, but are willing to help us design and craft a plan that would be desirable for those who succeed us. Ultimately, what I'm suggesting is that as we engage in this process, that I think is a 6 to 12-month process, that we need a firm that's devoted to strategic visioning for communities. There's one up there that I looked up. It's not by any means a recommendation. It's simply an example of, here's a community, the Realm Collaborative, that their expertise is helping businesses, communities, et cetera, vision. And they bring a population together to enable that to happen. And that's the kind of work that I think that we need to be done at the front end of this process. A facilitator, whether that's an outside person we've not talked to before, whether that's Crossroads, I think you need somebody who's kind of objective, that sees this process through. An economic development team, that is, we've got people in Delaware County, we can knock on their door, Dana McDaniel. Jim's going to talk about folks this evening, but we have folks that are looking at the numbers that we're generating. They're generating numbers so that we have credibility at the end of the day that our economic development plan supports this vision that we're attempting to bring to life. And then finally, and this is an interesting one that was suggested to me by someone, a strategic communications consultant. That is, we hire someone who is specifically dedicated to communicating with our residents. We don't burden Holly with that. We don't burden the trustees with that, or our little communications team. We hire a professional whose focus is communicating, building community engagement. So as we walk in on this, it's not a small group that's isolated from the rest of the community, but it's a team that has been brought together that is very proactive in how they're engaging the community throughout the entire process, bringing them on board and helping to create ownership for this strategic vision. And so as I've pondered that, I actually think that is a key role in this process that I think that our residents would appreciate that kind of proactive comms and engagement. And I think that it will build trust with all of these different entities coming under one roof in a collaborative effort. Do I think this is going to be incredibly challenging? Absolutely. Do I think there's going to be conflict? And whenever you get, opposing ideas, you're going to get friction. However, I think ideally, this is an opportunity to develop a product that so many people have contributed to and bought into, that it will help us as we're walking down the road in the future, having discussions in this room, and can tie those priorities to the priorities of a strategic plan. Say, this is why we're having this conversation. This is why we need these funds. This is why we're hiring this person, et cetera. We've already laid out strategically those concepts that we can then tie our actions to. And so my appeal to my fellow trustees and to our community is that over the next month, we think about these things. We explore the cost of these things. And ideally, it'd be great if in October we can think about a COA or a combination of elements that we combine into our own COA to attempt to go forward. So thoughts or questions?
It'll take a lot of informational gathering to.
Yeah.
get through the weeds. Anything else there?
No, not on that topic, not right now.
Okay.
I got a question.
Oh, so you should address the chair.
Yes.
Is there some way to incorporate a new township hall into your planning? It's something I think we need before 25 years.
Yeah, that's part of the plan. We need to talk about this winter to try to come up with something. And Jim has done some, little bit of background on when he's scratched the surface on the Center Village area. And there's more to come on that. That's, I don't know if you talked to Parks, right? Okay. So we're gathering intel that way to try to incorporate something that way. Does that help?
I'm also just a little bit worried about taking Holly's team away from efforts on working on a Center Village district.
Right. Yeah.
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 So a couple things there. I do think that when we talk about Harlem Township's needs for maintaining the township infrastructure, that's certainly part of a strategic planning process. And there should be a long-term goal in that regard that helps provide direction. I agree that Holly's has a priority. I think in the big scheme of things, as far as timelines are concerned, this, I think, would take precedence, but we certainly wouldn't, and this is trainer's opinion, wouldn't want to set that aside and would ask her to come back to at some point in the future.
Okay. These other items are yours.
Yeah, so this is a second point. I sent to Chief a motor vehicle use policy that had been sent to me from, was it Berlin, Chief?
No, Liberty.
Where was it?
Liberty.
Was it Liberty Township? Yeah. And then he sent me back an even better version that was also from Liberty. It's currently online.
Well, I was gonna suggest maybe check with our insurance carrier also.
That's a great idea. And so I am just proposing that perhaps by the time we get to our next trustee meeting, we have a motor vehicle use policy
Okay,
to
yeah.
propose.
That would be good.
I've actually been going over the Liberty one that you sent.
Yeah,
Or the one that Chief had sent. And made some edits, because there are some things in there that I just don't know that would necessarily work. for
yeah.
us. And obviously that would go back to you guys and go to whoever it needs to go to. But I am going through the Liberty one, and theirs is really, really.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is something that I would be willing to help along the way with that, and then obviously reaching out to insurance and seeing if they have
Yes, please.
one themselves, and making sure if we decide to go with kind of what Liberty's looks like, if that would work for them. In case we need to use the insurance, if they're like, hey, this policy doesn't actually follow what ours says, or if we need to combine them or whatever. So I do have that on my desk with lots of highlights and.
And I think Jim and Mike should go through that with a fine tooth
Absolutely.
comb.
Yeah.
Since it applies to you, you're gonna have to live with it. So, and as well as Chief. So if you guys could give your 2 cents, that would be great. Okay.
You just read the big green trucks.
Yeah.
All right, thirdly, I'm recommending that Harlem Township engage in a standard budgeting process for FY 25. I recommend that department heads and heads of committees submit 2025 budget proposals to the fiscal officer trustees by the October 2024 trustee meeting. And I recommend the fiscal officer train department heads and heads of committees in reading the township financial reports and submitting budget proposals. And I talked to Lisa about this, and we thought if we could do this in the next 2 weeks, that would be ideal. And so perhaps, Chief, if you could round up the cats and pick a day and time, that works for Lisa to that end. Okay.
Okay,
And then I am recommending that Harlem Township hire a public relations firm or college intern to upgrade the township website and social media presence to contemporary standards. I believe this is especially important in light of the coming year's activity.
the website's about no more than 3 years old, and I asked Ashley, we gotta find out what the vendor was that we used
Mhm.
and see what's available from them.
So we use Revise,
Yeah,
and we had our website made in September of 2022.
okay,
So I'm waiting for a call back, but we do through our contract with them, hosting the website, we get a revision. And I can't. I thought it was every 3 years, when I was looking through the paperwork, but there were a lot of different dates and things, so I didn't know if that was like a full revision or just you could change this or change that. So I did make a call to them. They should be calling me back by the end of this week. But obviously it would be much more before the meeting. But we do have within our contract, a free revision on the website, and they would call and work with whoever, they could work with me, you, whatever, and then that would kind of save us from pulling in an outside source right away, since we already have that in a contract.
To that point, Lindsay, do we have somebody on communications committee that this is in their wheelhouse?
Yes, myself, that's what I do.
Yep.
professionally.
Thought so.
So, if I may, the communications committee is also planning on when we get our appropriate township emails set up to, assist in the cleaning up of the duplicate Facebook pages and maybe setting forth some sort of editorial calendar, kind of what you're alluding to in your recommendation there. And we're happy to assist in any way with the website as well, depending on how, any changes that want to be made, whether it's an audit and recommendations on how to change, and then we could use this vendor who we're helping actually change as well.
Great.
I think the Facebook being figured out is important, because we have the two Facebooks that kind of post the same things, but I don't know that the community really knows what the division in what's our government page where, you know, public notices and things like that are going, and then where fun things are going. I know HTH puts a lot of their great things, and fire department has theirs. But just kind of knowing what they're posting versus what we should be posting, I think is super important. So I would love to work with you.
Yeah, that would be great. And I think that's something as simple as planning and some sort of editorial calendar would allow everybody to kind of work together and share each other's things. And it kind of be like a cohesive effort.
Absolutely.
good,
Thank you.
all right. Anything else? Move on.
Yes. We will.
Chief?
Alrighty, thank you. To announce that we'll be having, our open house, Park Prevention Week open house will be October 12th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is kind of a family oriented, open house, so the kids can come look at things, fun on their trucks. And then on October 26th, from 9 to 11, we'll be having a coffee with the firefighters that the public is invited to. And this is, for lack of a better term, more adult oriented, if you would.
With that or?
Yeah, well, you know, so we talked about it, because sometimes you got your kids, or your grandkids in tow, and you'd like to chit chat, and they want to go climb on the trucks. And the reason we're doing this is a couple reasons. Obviously, we have a levy that we're gonna ask you all to support. So it gives you a chance to come and talk to us about how we do our operations, how we staff our trucks. And also too, that we have become recently a registered agency to become an accredited fire department. And if we get successful in that, we'll be one of about less than 400 fire departments in the nation that will be accredited. So also we can talk to you about what that process will entail and how that will help us with our continuous improvement in the fire department to make sure that we are providing the best services we can for you folks. So those are the two dates. It will be on the sign at some point and also on social media to be pushing it. So with that said, we've lost a couple folks because they've have taken on full-time employment. And part of my decision when they did that was they are on 1 year's probation at their new jobs. And I don't want them working here part-time and getting hurt and getting the chance of maybe not making it through the probation at their full-time jobs. So we've asked them to resign. We've told them when they're all out, we're off probation, come back and see us. If you're still interested, we still have a position, we most likely would love to have you back. So the first resignation is 24/9/18 TO22 part-time firefighter Mackenzie Langdon. I would ask that you would accept her resignation.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Resolution 24/09/18 T23 part-time firefighter EMT Matthew Gray.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Well, the good news is we've got one ready to go and we're testing 3 more to replace them. So I would ask that you would approve the hiring from 24/09/18 TO 224 for firefighter EMT Hayden Norman.
At a rate of $18 an hour,
Yes.
effective September 27th. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right, and we did this previously. We have some people that are in the pipeline. We're interviewing and things, so if I could get you two guys, you gentlemen to offer me the authority to offer them contingent upon board approval in October, we can move them through the process a little bit quicker. And that would be 3 more part-timers on that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
I'd like to pull 24/019/18 T26, please.
All right.
And with that, first of all, I'd like to publicly thank Lieutenant Thrash, who was instrumental help to me and to the township as we went through the roofing process. As you well know, the company that we thought we could use was up in the 300,000 range, and Lieutenant Thrash and I sat down at coffee one morning and said, "This is ridiculous." And I said, "See what you can find," and he did a great job. So I want to publicly thank him for that. With that being said, it is my understanding there's a little bit of money left over. And that's why I pulled the bunker here, because I'm not quite, we're not quite ready for that, but. Looking at the building needs to be painted, there needs to be stucco repair. We've got some flashing over the overhead bay doors that has been there. It's got some water behind it, so it's starting to rust. And long story short, we had a wrestling match and he beat me, but I'm still asking for the money. Jason, we talked, we would like you guys to consider exploring using a lot of the remaining funds to repair or help offset the cost of these infrastructure repairs. We've got a company coming in Monday to give us a cost on repairing the stucco and painting it. And then the roofing company is coming back to discuss Lieutenant Thrash and another gentleman have an idea on how we can fix those overhangs to make them look better and to make the water run away and stuff. So if you would, gentlemen, consider that, we'll come back in October with some prices and to get things fixed.
That'd be a good,
You're gonna spend $42,692.
No.
Yeah, I will. That's why I held up with the bunker here, because I can do that. I want to we need to get facilities back up this week.
Right, but
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm saying
Oh,
though,
do you want to appropriate that to make?
no, do you think you're gonna spend that
Oh,
42,000?
absolutely.
Okay. On the repairs, that's why I was asking.
No, I think we talked about,
If we had enough for the
Yeah.
turnout gear plus.
yeah, we may have to
the
offset
repairs.
some of it, but yeah, but it's just so, you can't run a tractor or whatever.
No, I think fuel tanks.
Yeah.
Fuel tanks.
But we're gonna have some fuel tanks we're gonna have to look at as well, so.
okay.
So Jason and I are working together on things over there, and then for the building and stuff, we're looking at it, but I just wanted to make you aware and kind of get a.
You're still gathering intel on fuel tanks.
Yes, we are. Lisa gave us some prices on what we're paying and stuff. We're looking at not necessarily switching, but maybe switching Englefield and maybe getting some tanks stored. Makes it a little bit easier for us to get fuel if we're out someplace.
Yeah.
But until we have the whole package, we met with them, we're not even gonna bother anybody with it. We want to come with the whole package to you guys.
Okay, very good. Is that all?
That's it.
Good man.
Well, except for executive session later, but other than that.
Yes.
that's-
Yeah, no. Zoning, Mike?
Okay. I just want to give you an update here on our permits. Right now, we're at 53. We added 10 more in the last month. Right now I have 5 sitting in the office that need to be completed. We're currently at 15, tracking 15 code enforcement violations. We actually dropped 2 last month that got abated, but we added 1 more. 5 of the our businesses in residential areas that we resolved the last 2 months. 2 of these are at the prosecutor's office still. The attorney for the dump truck property on Center Village Road. As a reminder, the owner switched attorneys a couple months ago and talked to Corey about it. And Corey and the new attorney were supposed to get together and hash out the issue. Corey's attempted reaching out before he takes civil action. That guy actually called me today. So Corey did reach out to him today and he called me. So I have a meeting with him. Corey wants him and I and the owner to sit down and talk about what they're going to do. I don't know why he can't do it. It's going to be the end of the meeting, but so I guess he's probably going to have, he's going to have the decision on what to do. He's going to have to go to zoning commission and the BZA and ask for them to allow him to do whatever he's going to do. And none of it fits in our zoning. So I don't know where that's going to go. The Port Wall business is actually set to be at the zoning commission on October 28th to discuss, I believe it's a PCD. 1 new business has notified me that they found a commercial property and they told me that last month and they are staying in touch with me. They told me they would, and they're still currently getting their permits in place for Columbus so they can move their business there. But he said everything's going fine. They should be out in a few months. 1 business has moved its equipment off site, which they had already done last month. I went by there a couple times to meet with them. Unfortunately, he works during the day as well as everybody else, so he's very rarely there. I haven't been able to get a hold of him, but that one's likely going to go to BZA because he's tied to another PCD that's going through process right now. He's going to move his stuff to that area when and if it gets approved. We'll see how that goes. 1 business is the health department radar. They have it on their radar and it's still due till October 15th to clean up, get all their violations taken care of. I'll keep watching that one. On our fence violation, I was talking with Jason and we were discussing what we were going to do next on that. That's actually more of a Delaware County problem. So I fired it up to Delaware County to see if they wanted to have any input on what we're going to do with them. I think ultimately somebody's going to have to go out there and still talking with Corey on it, but we're probably going to end up having to do something ourselves with that fence and fence post. We'll do it respectfully, but I'll get Corey's input on how he wants us to do that. The other 6 nuisance properties are junk cars, discarded debris and trash. 2 of the violations are continuing to work to clean up their properties, which is what we allow them to do. 1 property is still unowned at the time. We know that. That was actually one of the things we were going to talk tonight with Corey, which we canceled that meeting, but hopefully we'll get that one scheduled. The other one is sold his house, cleaned up and sold it. 1 property was issued a 2nd violation and I've got no response on that. So that's going to end up in the prosecutor's office too. 1's a new complaint in the Westerville Estates. And actually I got out there to look at that and it had been abated anyway. And that's kind of an interesting happening because I've gotten 2 complaints in Westerville Estates and before I get out there, they've been cleaned up. So that's a good thing. 1 new violation property is a violation of a planned commercial development, and that's new this month. I have a conference call at the end of this week with the attorney and the owner of the public storage facility to discuss their options. I really think it's going to turn in out being they just have to request something through the zoning commission and they can do their business with them. I'm continuing to work on the sign violations, specifically the advertisements and right of ways. And this is one thing Jason didn't mention. I'm going to give him kudos. Jason and Bill are always out. And then Jim and I would go out and we'd start yanking these signs off of the telephone poles and everything. And some of them we just can't get off. Jason and Bill are out there and I see they're tearing them down. So It's causing a lot less grief and sadness for me, so kudos, and I appreciate the help, Jason. In respect to the sign violations in Harlem Township, I wanted to hit you guys up and let you know that, and I reviewed it again with Corey today. On any political sign, we cannot force anything on those. That's an infringement on their free speech. They've had some court cases on it, and every one of them have been lost. So Corey has advised me not to push the point on any of the political signs, regardless of time of year. So if you guys have some different thoughts on that,
What if it's in the right of way?
in the right of way, I can still get them.
Okay.
And I think what I want to do, it was mentioned to me that the communications committee wanted to talk about something from the zoning committee. Excuse me. The zoning department about something to put in it. I think I'm gonna do a little blurb on signs and what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable and where you can have them and where you can't. I mean, it's pretty simple. A lot of people don't understand where the right of ways are. You know, if you tell them you can put them everywhere but the right of ways, because we are taking them out of the right of ways. And I think we also want to discuss with everybody in the township that even though we're part of the township, we have to keep our signs out of the right of ways too. Because I noticed we get some signs that are advertising different activities in township, and those are being thrown in right of ways and on corners, and we can't do that either. So just so everyone knows that. But I'm going to put something in the news article about signs and what can and can't be put in the right of ways, because we do have a development going on right now where somebody's got in their head that they want these political signs addressed. And I tried to put it gently to them that we're not going to push that. And I don't know if they're just not getting the point or they don't believe that that's the case, but we'll see where that goes. The last two properties are also sign violations, and those are signs at the entrances of the housing developments. I kind of got the impression, I think we're just going to have a discussion with the zoning commission, because I'm not sure why or what we did on the zonings on those signs that we've decided we didn't like them. I know we've got some pretty opinionated thoughts on that, but we do have a couple places in there that's got really not very appealing signs on their properties, and they want to update them to appealing signs. I think it would be an improvement for the township. So I don't know what your guys' feelings on that. Think about that. Let me know your thoughts. But I think right now, if they go to the BZA's got to follow, you know, basically the guidelines. You know, you guys have been on BZA before. They can't just decide, hey, I like his idea, I'm going to go with it. They've got to go by the guidelines and say, so you can't. I think we need to address that. Other than that, I think that's it.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you. Jim?
All righty, on the Economic Development Department, along with zoning planning, we sort of do everything hand in hand because we're small, so we're always helping each other. I want to start off with, been meeting with Tiffany Mag up at Delaware County Sewer. And this has been a long process, just as the same that the tunnel coming in from Columbus has been taking a while. So finally, we've come with an understanding with Delaware County, thanks to them. They have offered to put the first leg in, tying into the tunnel, which is a smart thing to do. That way we don't collapse it. But anyway, so we're going to do, Delaware County is going to do the first leg into the sewer down in the micro area, bring it up a little ways along Harlem Road, and then stop. And then at that point, it will be up to us to do a lot of things and then cite it with the developers and start to direct along with Delaware County where we think this should go. I've started the notification of the large landowners in the area that they're going to be contacted that the sewer is coming. Every large landowner in the micro area, I've already personally talked to. And we've talked about sewer. In other words, it's not a surprise to them. And they've all agreed, didn't have anybody disagree. And that they would like to be part of that. Delaware County, Tiffany's department is going to talk to the smaller landowners, homeowners, that type of thing. Explain processes to them if they might want to go through their property a little bit. That's something that Delaware County will take care of. And so this project is moving forward. I think it's been a long time coming. Everybody's very happy with the location. Very undisruptive location as far as bringing it in and stubbing it up to a farm field. So it's going to work out, I think, pretty well. So thank you to Delaware County and also our staff and Holly and everybody and Dave for, the work that was done on that. Speaking of sewers, so we are working on the Trenton Township overlay, which I'll get into a little bit. But one thing on that is the Galena project of sewer. And we're working on trying to get sewer agreements out of Galena for the Trenton Road area so that we don't end up with Sunbury sewer via Sunbury, if you catch my drift on that. So what happens is with Delaware County's blessing and with Galena, and I've got a meeting with the EPA on Friday. If we can get this project moving forward, then it's also going to entail some economic agreements with Galena. And that's where Holly and her team come in. And Galena has hired their own planner at this point, which is good. So Holly will work with them in conjunction with us watching and kibitzing, so to speak. So I think it's going to be a good fit. It's going to be a win-win for Galena and a win-win for Harlem for that area. And I might remind everybody that a little over a year ago, we had identified that area as totally residential, an NCA area. We had actually laid out like 500 acres, wasn't it, Holly? Then all of a sudden Sunbury came down and laid all that industrial land right by us. So we had to do a swift change, do some heavy lifting, some hard work. We came up with these plans, surprised Galena too. And so I've been talking with the mayor, and I think it's just a small project. It's not huge. It's just Trenton Road to 605. So it's not a huge area, but it is a block, so to speak. And it also will become economically viable for the township also. So that's a good part. Anyway, so that's going on. Planning and economic development. We gave, as Holly mentioned, we gave the zoning commission the Trenton Township overlay for approval. The zoning board, we did break out the Trenton Road overlay portion and left the other two overlays separate. This way we can work on the Trenton Township overlay by itself, and it will get done in a more expedited manner so that we can get that done and then dive into the other two overlays along 605 and Center Village Road later. The legal portion of the revised TIF has been completed and is beginning to the trustees as we speak. Had a Zoom meeting with the Montrose Group, Holly and Mike and I, and we had several emails with them, and we've received a bid from them. And what we're trying to accomplish is to figure out what our economic revenue will be in what we call the micro area and also the Galena Trenton Road area. So what we're trying to do is get a official opinion, not just from the developers, but something the township can rely on for what kind of economic revenue we can bring in from the TIFs, the JEDs, the NCAs, and what kind of money we're going to have available at our disposal for the infrastructure and the things that we're responsible for doing, what will be available for the developers, and that type of thing. It's gonna be a hard process. But we need professionals to help us figure out what this money, how this money is gonna be figured, how it's gonna be brought in. That type of thing. That's why we reached out to them. Also, the Montrose Group is looking at our strategic quick strategy guide, our comprehensive plan, and some other data that we have on our overlays. And they're going to advise if we are missing something, such as some of the things that John was referring to this evening. And we'll take a look at that. Also, in that data, we can look at possible JED partners when we're looking at this data that's coming in and what kind of money we're looking to get. That, what I call my micro area, our micro area, the interest in the phone calls have just gone off the charts. Everybody's calling. When I say everybody, developers, landowners, their interest rates are starting to go down. We're getting close to the big main line being done from Columbus. These inquiries just keep coming in and in and in. What I do is I handle those. I also investigate zoning that comes into Mike in what I consider an economic area. So we coordinate on that. For instance, we had a walkabout on 2 possible subdivisions this last week. One was on Green Cook and one was on Fancher Road. I participated in that along with zoning. There again, we try to see exactly what's going on, how we might be able to help, make recommendations. Of course, this also goes on the mixed use areas also. Moving forward in that area, I've met with, and these gentlemen are now giving us permission to talk about who they are and where they are. Of course, we all know Joe Simonello, and I've had some good conversations with him on his economic visions and plans for the township. I've also requested a meeting with the Steiner Group and their affiliates. They own a lot of ground south of Center Village. Also, I'm working with another outfit, the Wilcox Group. They're building a lot in the area, but one of their priorities that I like, and they're agreeable in the Harlem Township area, is they do a lot of 55 and over communities and ranch type homes. And what that is, the government designates that you are allowed to discriminate one time, and that's for the age group of 55 and over. The idea is that they don't have children. So when you have a retirement area, 55 and over community, we're developing, we're going to collect tax dollars, but they don't go to schools. So that's a good deal. So when working with them, I've had a couple other inquiries that we haven't had meetings with yet, but we're working on it. Therefore, just keep an eye on the township. There again, primarily focusing on, not that we're ignoring the rest of the township. There's a lot of activity and a lot of planning to go on, but the closer you get to the sewer coming in, the hotter that area is. It did surprise Mike and I when we did the walkabout over on Fancher. That area is clear over by East County line. So that's one of the farthest areas from the sewer. And these people decided to look at the possibility of doing a subdivision under the old PRCD. They don't want to wait for the sewer. So I thought that was interesting that they had an expensive piece of property and they weren't willing to wait on the sewer, that they want to go ahead. So just little things like that are interesting. A lot of demand, a lot of reading. A lot of more reading keeps coming in. Isn't that right, John?
Indeed.
John keeps sending me reading. Any questions?
Gentlemen?
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Oh, you done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That leads us up to the TIF letter to the Board of Education of Big Walnut and Johnstown Monroe. We have a motion to send those letters.
Yeah, so I want to point out, I opposed this 2 or 3 months ago and asked Jim and Holly to reconsider a TIF over the properties that we said at risk, the verbiage that I used before, which they've done due diligence and produced. And so I'm comfortable at this point because I'm not against TIFs. I think TIFs are a good economic development tool. My axe to grind has been process. And so I think that as we as trustees engage in a process that is aligned with a strategic thinking and planning kind of process, recognizing these things are going to come, then I'm willing at this point to say, yep, I understand the reasoning for this and that these particular areas are at risk. And so to that end, I do make a motion to approve TIF letters to the Big Walnut BOE.
Second,
Second.
motion's been moved and seconded to go ahead with the 14-day notice to Big Walnut Schools and the Board of Education, Johnstown, Monroe. A roll call vote, please.
Jackson,
Aye.
Holiday,
All right.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Do we have that document to sign tonight? All right,
May I make one comment
sure.
now that we've passed this?
Fine.
So as you envision this, Jim, and I asked the question of Pete early on, that this thing has an administrative tail. How do we envision handling that administrative tail? As we deal with Delaware County Auditor and our fiscal officer, et cetera, as this thing begins to be applied down the road?
Yeah, if it gets applied, but right now it's not being applied.
Right,
It's just
right.
overlay. If it gets applied, we will sit down with Pete and Holly. They'll give us a map of what we're supposed to do as a township. Then we sit with the trustees and the fiscal officer, and they will lead us through it. And so there is a process, you're right. And there is, I believe there's a board on it, isn't there?
Yes, what will happen is, if you feel the need to enact it, you will file what's called a DTE with the
Yep.
state of Ohio.
Yep.
That will enact it, and at that point in time, then we need to pull all the other resources in and start talking to the auditor and talking to the.
In your experience, Holly, what kind of burden does this place on the township in its application? Is it limited? Is it significant? Okay. Okay. Can you unpack that for us at some point?
Yes, I will.
That would be good.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Next item we have to discuss and possibly act on is the approval of contract for Montrose to do the financial study. And is there another segment to that?
No, that's where they're going, I sent you the breakdown.
Yeah, they're going over
They're going over the
comprehensive plan.
comprehensive plan, the strategic plan, quick start strategic plan, and then in our overlays, there's some language in there regarding TIFs.
Right.
JEDs and how that's to be implemented. So they were going to look at that and see if there's any recommendations
Okay.
that need for us to look at. Outside looking in, see if we missed something or need to add something. I doubt if we really missed a lot, we just probably need to add some stuff.
Discussion.
Yeah. So I had thoughts about this today that I wanted to capture. Tonight, we're going to be asked to hire Montrose as a subject matter expert for economic development. While Montrose is a reputable firm and has worked with Crossroads in Delaware County in the past, we should establish a professional process that we follow as trustees before firing at the hip to hire firms for tens of thousands of dollars. An important procedural point. The trustees should be asking for entities to submit proposals to do work. Township employees should not be submitting specific firms for us to hire without an objective process being followed. This keeps us as a board above it keeps our reputation protected so that we're not viewed as playing favorites. And it allows this process to be open to the scrutiny of residents. So I would say that ideally, and this is where others who are better at this helped me with verbiage. Ideally, we should choose these firms. They should be selected from what is called a request for qualifications, a procurement process whereby firms submit their qualifications, and we shortlist and invite actual proposals with an approach and costs. That way, we get to review different qualifications and approaches ideas that we might feel best suit our needs. Alternatively, we could skip that process and go straight to a request for proposals and have firms include their qualifications with their proposed approach and fee. Then we could shortlist them, hold interviews, and make a selection. The professionals that we deal with are used to this process. This is not new to them. What's probably new to them is a township just saying, oh, we'll hire you. That is probably a shock to their system. So it's, I think, better for us to follow a process that requires them to be competitive with their peers. So I'm going to argue that we don't need to hire Montrose yet. Right. While I appreciate Jim's desire to develop an economic development plan, it has to be done carefully with regard to processes and good community engagement. I realize this adds time and effort and potentially costs, but it is a process that ensures we receive the best from the best. It's what we asked Jason to do when he goes out to buy a truck, get 3 bids. I think that same prerequisite should be asked of us as trustees when we're considering hiring someone for a lot of money to work for the township. So that's my 2 cents, Dave,
Okay.
at this point.
Comments?
Jim, where did the need for this economic development consultation come from?
The part that I first asked for is that we have no way of, as a township, we have no way of figuring what the revenues might be. In other words, you take that mixed use area with the TIF and JED, and then you have the residential area with NCAs and whatever other things we put on there. We have no way of figuring what kind of money that's going to generate. So conversely, when you're talking to the county engineer on roads and sewer people and the developers who, you know, are going to show us what they need and this type of thing, and the county's going to say, you know, you need a road here, you don't need a road there. We didn't know what kind of money we're going to generate over the next 25, 30 years to pay for the infrastructure. So that's where we needed somebody to generate those numbers for us, give us, you know, an idea of what we're dealing with. When I saw Tiffany, and of course she was running, she first ran some quotes for some very large sewer systems, which I don't think we need, but just to give us an example, one of those sewer systems was $29 million. Another sewer system was $39 million. Now, eventually, through the whole township, we'll probably spend that. Okay. But what I'm worried about, my job, is I'm worried that we're gonna spend $29 million and, or look to spend $29 million. And when this happens, that we're only gonna generate 25. We're gonna be $4 million short. So that's why I think it's prudent to know what we're going to generate ahead of time or possibly generate. So that when, you know, you talk to these entities, we get other help. We tell the developer, hey, we're tapped out, we're only gonna pay half, whatever. We can get into that discussion, but we have to have a baseline. We have to know somewhere, you know, what kind of money we're gonna generate. So I picked the, there again, the micro area.
Right.
And also some of the upcoming, on all the mixed use and some of the mixed use coming up East County line.
So we essentially need the consultation to understand what our budget is for infrastructural improvements. right, in those areas, right? And is this a service that the county auditor used to provide?
Used to, but not now.
They no longer do. So the township now shoulders the responsibility to be able to do that.
You rely on the developers will do that because they're gonna participate. But my feeling is, I was a developer in my past life,
Sure.
but at this point, I feel safer getting numbers for the township. And then if the developers have numbers, I would love for them to pretty
Okay.
close to matching. But I just don't want to rely on the private sector's numbers because they're going to be pushing their projects.
So, yeah, and I think the context is important because in a lot of ways, I agree with John's comments, right? Like to me, you know, just from a citizen's point of view, and then also sitting on this board, right? It seems like we reached out to Montrose, who I think is the name, right? And Holly, I'm looking at you. I mean, they're the ones that are involved in this pretty much any way you look. And they turned around and they're just like, oh yeah, 30 grand. You know, there seemed to be a lack of detail there. And then when we asked for a breakdown, it was essentially, just peel 10 G's off of that. And that's what this is for. So I just, the part that gives me a little bit of trepidation is they seemed to be very flippant with where the quote was coming from, what we were, you know, and how that was divvied up between the responsibilities, if that makes sense. And so, you know, I think where I align with what John is speaking about is I do think we probably need to see what our options are before we make that kind of investment into something that is overlooking work that we have already done. But at the same time, I think we know that it needs to happen because I think you make a very valid point, right? Like if we agree to put in a $30 million sewer, but we're only going to get 25, well, where's that $5 million going to come from? So, you know, I think I'm being colloquial with a lot of this explanation, right? But I think that's the point here is, you know, let's see what other people might be able to offer to us.
You know, John and I had a conversation on that this afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
and so this is surprised me this afternoon. I wish I'd known it 2 weeks ago, so I could have had more quotes for you.
I wish I'd thought about it 2 weeks ago.
So, John and I talked about it, if we can do it in an expedient, you know, in a fast manner. I can get with Holly and we can go find some more quotes.
But
And qualifications.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, in the line of work I'm in, if I get a call from somebody that says, hey, I'm a potential customer and I got this quote from somebody else, I'm interested in this scope of work, I'm for sure gonna get you a better deal because I want your business, right? So, you know, that's where I come from. I'm not in community planning. I can't speak for the Montrose group, but you know, I think that it's in our best interest to be fiscally responsible.
And speaking with John, and I looked at the calendar while I was talking with him and what's going on. This is important. This is a very important leg.
Yeah.
For the township. And I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, if I'd known earlier, you know, you get your eyes on a task and then you go and try to do that task. And, you know, for that, I apologize, but, you know.
I don't think any apology is
No,
necessary.
I really appreciated that you were very proactive and responsive. I thought that was great.
Yeah,
And
so-
my question is, kind of following up on Adam's comment, can Montrose come in and kind of audit this further down the line in the process?
Yeah, so we only ask there again, because of the planning that you want to do.
Yeah,
So we basically just hit the mixed use areas and the micro residential areas, and then some of the mixed use coming up. Eventually, once, you know, if we say that, you know, our residential plans are pretty much what we're gonna do, yeah, they can do that. Like, you know, they'll be able to do the whole thing. But to expedite things, we picked on there again, the areas that we're gonna have to be working on roads, which I have talked to some people with the county on roads. The sewer, that type of thing. We haven't talked any money. I don't think we had to pay Delco anything. But we're working with them also. So that's why I kept it in this area, because there's going, like you said, there's going to be some things north of Center Village and north that are going to be probably more complicated. It's complicated enough where we're at, but moving north and then the Center Village area into our in the northwest area along 37, our industrial area, that's complicated. And that's ever changing as far as, you know, what industries may come in, may not come in. So I think it's gonna be more than one process. I think it's gonna be at least a 2 or 3, 4 part process.
Okay. So you're gonna maybe work on a couple more.
I will get with Holly and we'll get what you need.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I just endeavor to have that done for the next meeting. And
All
get
right.
it out to you ahead of time.
Sure, thank you. Anything else? Good.
I have approved purchase orders now.
Yes.
And
Go
then I
ahead.
think Lindsay, you've got a couple things, right?
Yeah, I've got her on the list here too.
I need approved purchase orders for the Gold Tier Structures LLC in the amount of $19,354.40 for the carport. For Reichard Properties for the 2024 F-550 in the amount of $103,035. And who's going to be authorized to sign if there's any paperwork with this truck?
Can
We can
Jay,
touch base on that.
can Jason,
That's fine.
that works. So we need a separate motion for that or not?
Probably approve for both those in case the car.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so we need a purchase order. You need 2 purchase orders.
Yeah, I need the carport and
Okay.
then the truck.
I'll move for the Reichard Properties, $103,035 for the truck purchase order. Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
And the carport's $19,354.40. That's a motion. There's a second.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carried. Now, I'll make a motion that we authorize Jason to be signer for both those purchases.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
We up to date?
We're up to date now.
Except for yours. Haven't got everything signed here yet, though. Lindsay? Yeah. We're not, yeah.
No, that's right.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Lindsay.
The Communications Committee just has 2 items for the trustees to consider and approve or disapprove. The first is that the next township newsletter will be distributed by mail and also email by early to mid-October. And in lieu of what was last newsletter's administration update, we're asking if the trustees would consider writing no more than 1 page, a letter from the trustees for the newsletter on a topic of your choosing. I think that would be more appropriate this time than an administration update because not enough time has passed since the last one. So if so, we're looking to start laying out that newsletter sometime early to mid next week. If you're able to kind of talk about a letter you'd like to write to the residents. Any specific questions on that? The length would be approximately like one Word doc page.
I just wanted to add to that, and Lindsay, this is in addition to the email that you sent to John and I about just brief bios to put it in the newsletter, right?
Yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, the reason I thought that it would be appropriate to bring it to the board is because it would essentially be an update from the board, not from one particular seat
Right.
of the board.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure that we ran that through appropriate channels before
Sure.
we said, yeah, we'll throw this in the newsletter.
Sounds good.
Great, thank you. I'll be your contact for that when you have that ready.
Okay.
Then secondly, this was something that somebody reached out to the Communications Committee about. The elementary school within the township limits is, I believe it's Sauter Elementary School. They are looking to increase awareness on their school events and get participation from residents. And they actually asked if the Communications Committee would consider adding the elementary school events and announcements into Harlem Township communications, since it's within the limits. And we're asking if the trustees would discuss this, because I understand that there are other school districts nearby, maybe not within our limits, but I understand if you'd want to in some way and make sure you were fair to all, or if you felt like that wasn't necessary since they weren't actually within our limits. So we're bringing that to you guys for discussion.
Yes, and just context on that too, I thought that that was appropriate to bring to the board because while Highland Souders, near and dear to my heart, is the only school within the township, it is not the only school system represented in the township.
Right.
And so I thought that it would be best for us to make sure that we don't display any sort of favoritism or unfair advantage. So
Celebrate.
that's true. And so did Mark Twain in Westerville. Same day. So, interesting.
I see I have kids out of order.
So I just wanted to bring that for discussion. I don't know what the opinion would be.
Link, can we do a link or something like that? Or you're thinking more?
Oh, a link and
Yeah.
some sort of digital communication versus any sort of pages.
I don't know. Throwing it out
We could
there.
absolutely do some sort of link, and that could be up to the communications committee to discuss. There will always probably be instances where there is more content than what the average printed newsletter could hold. So this could be a great example of something that we say, also make sure you check your email. We could have an expanded edition.
Well, and I also think it might be a good idea just to provide, like Dave said, a link to every school represented in the township, every school system, represent, and I think that might be the easiest route is a link directly to Big Walnut, a link directly to, all the other ones that are represented, Johnstown and whatnot, because, you could have multiple schools represented in one house or like a large portion of our township, none of the schools. And so I think that might be the best course of action. So we could probably bring that back to the communications committee and discuss what maybe that looks like.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
My opinion is that we should be as neighborly as we can.
Agreed.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Any
you.
questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Okay. Anything else? Any public? Yes, Joni?
Just a couple of public service announcements from Harlem Township Heritage. Our last noodle dinner of the year will be next Friday, September 27th, from 4 to 7 at the Grange. Come early for best selection of desserts. We will have a fall festival the same evening as the firehouse is going to have their coffee. So fall festival with trunk or treat, 4 to 6 at the park. We are combining our trunk or treat with the Harlem Road churches because they have many more than we get. So we're hoping to actually be able to put cars all the way around the track, giving out candy from decorated trunks. So if anybody's interested, decorate your trunk. There will be prizes for first and second place, People's Choice, best decorated trunks. Harlem Road Church will also be providing hot dogs, drinks, and popcorn. It'll be a great opportunity to have community discussions and whatnot.
If somebody wanted to sign up for that, where would they go to sign up for their
Just come,
trunk? Just show up?
show up anytime after, I think we decided 2 o'clock.
Okay, perfect.
What day is that?
It's Saturday, October 26th. Right at, a few hours after the coffee.
We get all that stuff on the community calendar on the website.
It's on the calendar. November 9th is a pancake breakfast at the Grange. 8:30 to 10:30. Veterans eat free. And of course, winter in the park is December 14th, 5 to 8. Always a good time there. They'll build a little campfire and roast hot dogs, have various drinks and lots of cookies. So put all these things on your calendars. We hope to see you. And great time to talk with your neighbors.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Steve?
I'm Steve Eisenbrown, 4909 Harlem. I just wanted to take a second and say, or recognize the collective of the township for all the work done the last 2.5 years on zoning and forethought and strategic planning. And John, I appreciate your point of view and your proposal, and I guess we'll see, where that can go.
But when you listen to the work being done and the progress and the results, more importantly, for a little Dinkin Township, we've done a lot of good stuff. And has there been some strife? Yeah, I'd say there's been some strife, but the net is, I believe we're in the right direction. And I don't know how many people watch Next Door, but you may have noticed a little flurry of activity last week when people kind of figured out what Galena's doing over at Vans Valley and Sunbury. And their postings about, hey, we got to stop this, who the hell, more or less, who the hell approved building, 350 to 700 houses? Well, that was, the people commenting on that are like 15 years late and a couple dollars short. I mean, that was decided by Galena's planning people a long time ago. But when you look at what those plans are and the density of housing that they're proposing, and then you look at the things that collectively we've put in place with the overlays, we have done a great job of protecting back to the old rural nature that we espouse to. And there won't be anything rural about whatever farms that thing's being called there. It's going to be suburbia. And so I think we ought to just sort of step back sometimes and say, yep, there's a lot of work yet to be done. But when you look at what that's going to be, that's not what we wanted in Harlem Township. And I think we've put a lot of both the fences and the plans in place to ensure we get the kind of development that is important to us. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Anybody else? Joe?
Joe Simonello, 7858 Calverton Square, New Albany. My name was mentioned as a developer and then it said developers are self-serving.
I didn't say it that.
No, you said, well, it's a joke, Jim. I think I've talked to most everybody in the room, was involved at one of the first strategic planning, kind of showing a micro area, possibly to develop. And what I wanted to say is acknowledge what Steve said. There has been great work done. And there's been a lot of back and forth between factions and maybe some misdirection. But what I see is the township is everybody's doing what's they believe is in the best interest of the township. And there nothing of any substantial development when you look at Central Ohio has been done solely by the community or solely by the developer. You look at Bridge Park in Dublin. You look at Grandview Yard, the Short North, New Albany, the whole town. It needs to be a public-private partnership. But when the statement, and look, I've lived it all my life, Jim did too, as a developer, they think you only have one objective in mind. And yes, we do want to make money, but in doing it with the community and raising up the whole community when it's done together and planned and meshed, that is what makes great communities. And we've been a part of them in Grove City. You mentioned Wilcox as another developer. We partnered with them on 2 projects, one in Reynoldsburg has a TIF. We put in roads. We worked with them. Additional TIF money for projects that Reynoldsburg wanted to do other places. But I was asked during the Westerville talk that we were going to, township wanted to pursue alternative plans. In January, we brought in a plan and it just wasn't for my properties. It was for the entire area that it can now be serviced with sewer. Jim's done great work up in Galena and working with them that area could be serviced with sewer. We didn't include that. I was asked by trustee Richardson and Jim to bring back numbers and projections. So I hired Caleb Bell, who had spoke before the trustees, or at least I think strategic planning. We've hired him, he's developed a model. And the model that we have is all we need are assumptions or projections. So you could take the Glean area, we can plug in the numbers for the Glean area. It has all your tax code, or tax rates, Delaware County. We have a JED, we have an NCA with assumed 4 mills. All those input numbers can be changed in this model. It's a layered spreadsheet. And we did that with assumptions that we made for the area that's currently in the sewer tributary area. Can you take that down micro? Absolutely. But the process I think John is getting to is all these things need to be meshed. And the plans we always provided was first preservation of all the natural features, second arterials. What roads does the township want? Might not necessarily be how the county engineer wants to do it, but a thoroughfare plan needs to be established. Now we know roads, now we know sewer. We can get the cost, and what really happens in these public-private partnerships, when you say the township's going to have this money, no, I mean, the money doesn't, it's delayed. I mean, it comes in, you do 100 home subdivision, it might take 5 years, 20 homes a year in that subdivision. So how does the money get funded up front? You sell bonds. Right now, the township doesn't have the bonding capacity. So who do you work with? You work with the developers. And we've been through it. You have to capitalize enough interest and until the revenue starts to come in. But we do have a model. I'll send that to all the trustees, but that's the type of cooperation. And one other thing that just being, again, I was thinking the sewer was coming in 07. So I've been thinking about it, everything since then, and garnered a lot more experience. But if collectively and worked on the overall number one tenet would be that the town should be autonomous, and you guys are no annexations. Negotiate the deals you need to negotiate with surrounding municipalities. But the second large tenet is new growth pays the way. That are the other project we partnered with Wilcox is the last little bit, it's called Walnut Woods. This product is there off Walnut Street. We had an agreement, City of Columbus had a program for years called Pay As We Grow. It's part of an NCA, part of a TIF. Don't need a JEG because they are a city. But that's how Hamilton Road, the last leg of Hamilton Road, that was our deal with the city. It's extended in between Central College and Walnut. It'll eventually tie into Walnut at Harlem as the next couple pieces develop. But new growth pays for the way for all the ideals of the community, open space and bike paths and the roads and the sewers. And then our projections show very big numbers, and you can develop that into ongoing maintenance of your facilities, fire station, city hall, or township hall, maybe a city hall by that time, who knows? But the idea of working together, meeting all the tenets of the comprehensive plan is what that type of group can bring to the table. Our math is our math. on those spreadsheets. It's a matter of how many homes we're gonna build. Or how much commercial. What's that commercial gonna be valued at? What are those homes gonna be valued at? And how quick are they gonna absorb? Put all that into the spreadsheet for any of those areas, and you could have somebody else audit those spreadsheets to make sure. But Caleb did the math, well, Caleb didn't, his guy that specializes in spreadsheets. Put all that together. So I'll send a copy to the trustees. But, and you mentioned Wilcox, Steiner. There is no one developer that is gonna come in probably and develop everything. There's been enough interest. All of us, when you're working together with the municipal community, township, that wants to control its destiny, we can't, as a private side, we can't create a tip. That's a township function. A JED and an NCA would have to have property owners consent, as well as the township entering into that JED agreement with municipalities. So if everybody's working together and there gets to be a sense of the goal is to make Harlan Township the best it possibly can be. And if it's the best it possibly can be as a whole with a clear vision, plan, strategically that they all mesh. And there are some things like MKSK mentioned density transfer credits. Those aren't worked into the zoning or the mixed use plan yet, right? And you rely heavily on the county engineer. The county engineer sometimes might be in conflict with where you want to run roads. So some of the language and the overlay there need to be looked at. But I've taken enough time.
Okay, thank you.
We'll send those models to you so you can see how we can adjust them.
Thank you. Joe, just one question. Do you believe it is possible for developers with competing interests to gather together around a table and work toward a common goal in a township?
Yeah, absolutely. I approached Steiner, Yamir himself. I don't know if these are some of his associates now. I'm moving, but yes, collectively, absolutely.
Okay.
The TIF and a JED, an NCA, it is kind of up to the township, right? Of what road infrastructure do we feel we need to be a part of and pay? If it's a major trunk line, if it's sewer extension, if it's major roadways, but not every roadway in a development would receive any of those dollars. You need to pay for bike paths and things like that, that maybe go outside the property, but it links up all the open space. But yes, all those developers will come together, and it's kind of nice to know that everybody's kind of going to help pay the way. So how do you get the $40 million sewer? Well, it comes in chunks, so you're kind of paying forward to get it to the next guy, but then they pay, and it could be paid back through the economic plan with those tools.
So it's possible to have a collaborative effort.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Holly?
Make a comment on the transfer of development rights, or what he's referring to as density credits. I just want to make sure everybody's clear that in the township is subject to you're a creature of the state. You cannot deviate from what the state law allows you to do. The state legislature introduced transfer of development rights for townships back in the mid-2000s. It never went anywhere, and then it introduced it again somewhere 2010, 2015 area in that range. Never went anywhere there either. So there is nothing in township zoning law that directly allows you to do transfer of development rights.
Okay,
You could look at possibly, creatively doing something through a PUD. But I would want legal counsel's advice on that, because it's not a direct allowance.
okay, thank you. Any other public got anything tonight?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we move to executive session at 9:16 PM.
Okay. Just a second, before we do that, and while Jim and Mike are here, I need 3 dates that I can offer Corey to meet with him for a special meeting. When everybody thought they might be available.
Is that something we need to determine right now, or can we report back to you?
Yeah, I'd like to know the next day or two.
Do we need to get back together on the second to do this thing with the TIF?
See, yeah, what's the sign it, you mean?
Right, wasn't there something we need to?
Yeah, it's a special meeting second to
So,
sign the letter.
so can we do it on the second? When we get together?
Yeah, I can check, see if he's available.
Okay. Session with him in that special meeting.
October 2nd.
October 2nd.
Okay. So I'll leave that in
Yeah, because that's when the 14 days for the tip will be up.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So 7 PM?
October 2nd to meet with Corey. October 2nd, you'd be available to meet with Corey, Mike. Both of you.
That works.
American Rescue Fund was,
The first Wednesday of that month.
is a total.
That really,
Yeah.
I thought this was a 10 o'clock meeting for sure. I don't know.
What time? Gentlemen?
Over yet.
7 o'clock.
7?
7?
Okay. That's what I'll offer to him. That's what I'll tell Corey, whether he's available or not.
Yes, we need a remotion because we're still in
I
regular
got one
session.
signature.
But
Dave.
I don't know. I
Dave.
just signed.
Do we need a remotion to move to executive session?
Yeah, real quick.
Make a motion, to move to executive session at 9:18 PM to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, compensation of a public employee or official.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll sign that afterward. Is that okay?
Thanks, Steve.
Hey, thanks, Steve. Appreciate your comment.
Be in there. I'm looking for Dave. Dave's got a sign for the help.
Okay, this isn't working. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Strainer.
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Okay. Given that, we're through with business tonight, but we had a thought we would recess until October 2nd at 7 PM. That way we can take care of the signing of the TIF document and meet with Corey if he's available. So I'd make a motion, we recess till 7 PM, October 2nd.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. We're recessed. Need an autograph here too. Oh, and there's,
Okay here.
yeah, you're okay there. And then I got,
And this is in regard to
what we,
the zoning?
yeah.